Hey guys, this is Tim with Decoding Panels right here on the Codex Station. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you know when we've got this and other great stories coming your way, along with new episodes of the Codex podcast, Breaking the Code, one-shots, mail call, and more. All right, ready? Sit back, relax, and let's do this. Hey guys, thanks for coming back to another episode of Decoding Panels, and boy, do we have a big one for you today. Today we're going to do Dark Ages #1. Now, this is an ongoing series in the Marvel multiverse right now, so what's taking place right now isn't MCU canon, but it's canon in the multiverse, so I'm sure there will be impacts at some point in the future having to do with this, or this will be mentioned somewhere, some way, somehow. But anyways, the writing goes to Tom Taylor. Artist is Ivan Coelho. Color artist is Brian Rieber, and I'm going to assume that's colors and inks too. Letters go to VC's Joe Sabino. Now, like I said, this is current, so multiverse stuff is going on here. So Tom Taylor kind of gets to do whatever he wants here. And I find that actually to be really cool, because he definitely does that inside the issue. Now, if you have not put this on your pull list yet, I highly recommend you go to the comic shop and take care of business, because this is something that you do not want to miss out on. Issue 2 is going to be coming out here pretty soon if it isn't out already. So definitely go ahead and do that and try and find a copy of #1 if you can. Back from the comic shop so soon? Okay, fantastic. Buckle in, guys, because we are going to go on a ride. You ready? Let's go. We start on a regular day, a Friday to be exact. Peter Parker is telling us this tale, and to begin, it would start just like any other day. Just a regular afternoon hanging out with the likes of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and their daughter Danny as they enjoy some pizza. Peter Parker, Mary Jane says. Yeah, he replies. Have a slice being worked on at the moment. Our daughter is on the ceiling. Again. There's a little bit of confusion as Peter replies, so? I mean, are you okay with that? MJ comes back. It's not like she's going to fall from the ceiling, so yeah, I guess he is. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? Well, she could put her finger in a light socket for starters. Jessica does investigate a lot of deaths, you know. Geez, Jessica, thank you very much for that input. It's pretty simple. MJ would like for her daughter to learn that the floor and ground are for walking, and ceilings, well, they're for whatever it is that ceilings do. Basically, gravity needs to be a rule here. Yeah. Okay, Peter effortlessly jumps to the ceiling. Hey, Munchkin, I need you to get. Yeah! The spiders in the city felt it first. Miles, Gwen, Peter, and May. Peter had felt a strong spider sense before, like if Galactus were coming to the Earth, but this was different. It felt like Galactus was already here and had taken a big bite out of the planet. Which was about right. Across town, a warning pings on a young lady's computer. Moon Girl's mind was already working, figuring out the pattern, and saw what nobody else had seen. Oh no. Moments later, she is racing through the streets of New York on Devil, her dinosaur. The smartest mind on the planet is going to see the second smartest in the Baxter Building. The world's greatest telepaths felt this thing come online as well. Do you feel it, Charles? Jean says. I do. It's unlike anything I've ever felt before. One other felt this presence, this mind, awake. Apocalypse. His mind touched something old and powerful. Yes, I feel you. He craved more. What is going on? Luke says. Peter doesn't know. His spider sense is very accurate in announcing doom and danger, but it's usually not so clear on the details. All he knows is that something very bad is about to happen. He has to see Sue and Reed. He tells MJ to get somewhere safe, but he doesn't really know where safe is. It's okay. Go do what you need to do, she tells him. The Baxter Building. Hey, Reed? Johnny Storm calls out. Reed's a little preoccupied at the moment. Can this wait? There's this big dinosaur parked out front. The first real tremors were felt in New York City around midnight. Needless to say, they were powerful. What in the world is going on? Mr. Fantastic says, very, very confused. Val? Moon Girl? What's this all about? Dad, Val says, I think there's something you need to see. The quakes aren't consistent. They're too short, Moon Girl says. It looks like an impact, Sue says, but if that were the case, they'd know. This has to be coming from inside the Earth. Val states it quite simply. I think the world is ending. A booming, attention-grabbing voice agrees. Yes, it is. The world is coming to an end. This is what I've been watching for. You have mere hours. This is the Watcher, an omnipotent being whose sole purpose is to watch events unfold without interference. He comes with very bad news. The Watcher tells us that billions of years ago, a living machine was made. It was made to protect the universe and, among other things, stop black holes in their tracks. But, over the course of time, eating so much darkness changed it, rotted it, corrupted it. This unmaker had grown wild, and it began to unmake everything. Worlds, stars, galaxies, until the living tribunal could stand by no more and beat the unmaker. There was just too much power inside it to be destroyed, so it was trapped, imprisoned in a newly formed world, Earth. But now the machine wakes, and when it grows to its full power, it will shatter the planet from its core, unmaking it and countless worlds once it's free. So, it needs to be put down then, Ben Grimm says, matter of fact. Johnny agrees, albeit with a little hesitation, but how exactly do they do that? Well, they actually came up with an idea, Peter says, continuing his story. A team was brought together. Vision, a machine to fight a machine. Scarlet Witch, one who could shape reality to her whim to fight a monster who could unmake it. Doctor Strange, the ultimate sorcerer to fight the height of technology. The Invisible Woman, to protect them from the heat of the Earth's core and any other dangers they may face. And finally, Ben Grimm, the Thing. He's there to make sure that when all else fails, it's clobbering time. Goodbyes were said as they stepped through the portal, carrying the hopes of all on Earth with them. Oh man, Thing says. That's going to take an awful lot of clobbering. Oh, how wrong you are, Ben. The Unmaker gave them no notice. It just continued trying to escape. Rocks fall as Ben cries out Sue's name. She doesn't hesitate. She immediately goes into action and creates a shield to protect Earth's only chance. A few moments later, tremors are starting to be felt in Wakanda. What do we do? Siri says. We help, T'Challa replies. Destruction was not nearly as heavy in Wakanda, what with it being on top of vibranium, but other parts of the world did not fare so well. Kathmandu in Nepal, Vancouver, Canada, everything started to collapse. This destruction and death wasn't just on the surface either. Oh no. Namor could only float as he watched Atlantis being pulled into the seabed of the earth. No amount of power he had could have even come close to stopping this. All across the world, heroes come together to save anyone they can. X-Men and Avengers. Runaways. Champions. As the world falls apart, those that can try to keep it together do the best that they can. Iron Man reaches out to Reed. There's not going to be much left if things keep shaking like this. Is there any word from the team? I wish I could give you good news. There was no battle. No, this was a slaughter. Thing charged, but was disintegrated instantly. Sue cries out his name. The Scarlet Witch attempts to alter reality, to shape it, to unmake the unmaker. But even though it hadn't yet fully reached its power, it simply stopped everything she tried. And then it unmade the Scarlet Witch. She gets out half of Vision's name before she is turned into dust. Vision screams her name and then suddenly flies straight toward the Unmaker. He enters inside the Unmaker's head, and it gives those that are left precious, vital moments. As things were being unmade around them, Sue was able to control a small portion of the earth. Just enough for her and Dr. Strange. I can't hold it much longer, she shouts to Steven. Desperate, he reaches out into an infinite amount of realities for something. Anything. He finds a weapon. A portal is open to a realm where no electricity can work. An electromagnetic pulse lives at the center of this dimension. The Unmaker begins to realize what they're trying to do. It lashes out. Sue screams and Dr. Strange is impaled. As he dies, the EMP is doing its job. It holds the Unmaker. Steven, Sue says softly. It's okay, he says. Live. With his last dying breath, Stephen Strange sends Sue Storm away. But with Dr. Strange now gone, there's no one to close the portal. The massive wave of EMP covers the Earth in moments and moves beyond our orbit, out into space. The world is plunged into darkness. The sky begins to fall. Nick Fury can only hold on as the helicarrier he's in drops towards the ground. Everything stops working. From passenger jets to armor, switches, life-saving equipment, and even artificial life. Even web shooters stop working. He was trying to get back to his wife, to his daughter. As he falls, he can see the building he lives in, but he has no webs to shoot, no ledges to swing to or grab hold of. As he falls, he thinks he never should have left him. Peter hits the ground hard. Mary Jane! May! He can only hope. Peter, Jessica says. She was helping us get people out when the building collapsed, Luke says, still digging. Help me, he shouts. Help me! It's moments of agony as they dig, as they toss rubble to the side. My God, Peter says. Though the world may now be dark, there is still some light left to shine. Hey there, Tiger, MJ says. Hey, Mary Jane, he replies. Now, 7 years ago, what they knew of the world then ended. Today, They've built a new world that they can be proud of. But years after things went dark, after the end had come, a symbiote, an Iron Man, Hulk, Beast, Mr. Fantastic, Lady Deathstrike, and the Alpha and the Omega himself. Now comes the apocalypse. Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, tells us more of what happened 7 years ago. After the world went dark, people were scared. That fear turned into anger. There were wars fought over everything. Borders, food, even thoughts. It was literal chaos. Between all that was going on, the earthquakes, battles, and fear itself, billions were lost. But then, cutting through all of that craziness came voices of calm. A message started to be shared. It doesn't have to be like this. With soldiers and heroes, scared children in the jungle, ninjas sealing old debts, and out-of-their-mind mutants with very persuasive words. So, a few of my friends here have been tossing around some thoughts. You want to hear it, or should I just shove this sword in your brain? There is another way. All over the world, this message is spread. We can find it together. Who said the end of the world had to be so darn bad? Forget the Mad Max wastelands, or roving packs of cannibals, or that cool leather and bones everybody thinks you should wear when the world crashes. After the fall of everything, something better always comes along. Yahoo! Gotcha! Dad, you know that's not fair. Well, all that yelling makes it really easy to figure out where you are. It's a big hole in your otherwise quiet plan. Mary Jane comes along, telling Peter and May it's time to head home. Sure thing, Peter says, but first he needs to spin some webs. In all honesty, it really became a pretty good place to raise a family. With smaller groups of people with no electricity, any sort of industrialization, and mass production, the world started to come back from the brink of the climate collapse. People escaped from the worst places to come to smaller centers, and they thrived. What was left of us banded together against the darkness. Each of these super cities all had one thing in common. They were all linked together by a telepath. Brazil. Wakanda, the center of the new world, Earth's capital. Some of the world's best minds, linked together by Jean Grey, worked here daily. Lunella Lafayette, Tony Stark, T'Challa, Amadeus Cho, Valeria Richards, and even Doctor Doom all worked together to reimagine the world. Together, they brought the world back from the brink. New ways to light, keep food fresh, shelter, even governing the population. It was all coming together. How did we protect this world, you ask? We built webs. An alarm bell rings, notifying Daredevil and Foggy Nelson that someone, or something, has broken through the barrier. Where's it at? Foggy says. Toward the south end of the city, and considering who's protecting that side of the city, I'd hate to be a blood-sucking creature of the night right about now. Daredevil isn't exaggerating. Should I shoot a flare? There's no need, Daredevil says. Wolverine will already know by now. What is it? Blade says, getting ready for whatever may be out there. Vampires. And wolves, Wolverine says. The small group begins to prepare, coating claws in silver, getting stakes ready for heart-piercing. Blade, you guys ready? Elsa Bloodstone says. Let's hunt, Blade says simply. See, with the lights going out all over the world. Darkness thrives. The raids from these beasts happened frequently, but we had protectors that were way more fearsome than any monster. With precision and quickness, these creatures of the night stand very little chance. The very quick battle can be heard in the distance, and someone works away in the cave. You've got to love the sweet sounds of the woods at night. Well, it sounds to me like some vampires made a very bad mistake, Pepper. Tony's not wrong. A hiss is heard in the background, and Tony stops his work. He and Pepper look on to see a vampire calling out his name. Shield connects to neck. Head falls off. Vampire disintegrates. You would think one of the world's smartest people would make a door for the front of their house. Tony and Steve clasp hands. Who knows how long it's been since they've seen each other. Cap obviously apologizes for the now powderized vampire on his floor. Tony just brushes it off. It happens. Pepper is just as excited to see Steve. It's been too long. We were starting to get worried. It's good to see you too, he says. Rogers surveys the cave and makes mention of Stark's alchemy work. He made lead into gold, and though he doesn't really know why he did that, it would have been worth a ton back when money was a thing. I didn't expect to see you both so happy, Steve mentions. A less exciting life will do that, Pepper replies. They're standing in the middle of a powderized vampire. Less exciting, not dull. Steve gets down to business. He's been to Europe. Stark asks how things are there, and Rogers replies simply that it's still under control and ruled by an iron fist. Is there somewhere they can talk? They venture out of the cave, some sort of small talk going on. Friends catching up. Steve mentions that he thought Tony would miss electricity more than it shows. And he does. He lies awake at night thinking up machines and technology that would never be made for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. Mind the webs, Stark says as they walk on. Is Captain America here to ask the Iron Man to go to war with Europe? No, Steve says. He thinks there's another way. What if there was a way to make all those machines in Tony's mind actually work? Where are we going? Stark asks. Cap just simply replies, I've got something I want to show you. Apocalypse! Hello, Iron Man, he says, his voice commanding and booming. Instinct is taking over now as Tony pulls some form of grenade from his pocket, pulls the pin, and tosses it. It explodes into a flash of light, and instantly, a large portion of the vampires there are now vaporized. You've been too good at killing, Stark, Dracula says, grabbing Tony by the neck and lifting him effortlessly off the ground. Some of those vampires you vaporized had been with me for centuries. Tony can barely breathe, barely speak as he asks his friend, Captain America, Steve Rogers, to make Dracula let him go. Steve's face goes cold, and with a firm but very revealing tone, he simply says, no. Swinging his shield hard, he cracks Tony across the jaw. Mission accomplished, Mystique says, her mutant ability to morph into any person she wants to, washing away Captain America and revealing her instead. Well done, my dear, Apocalypse says. Peter brings us back to his tale as he tells us that those people that had survived had done it so well, they had been so resilient that they couldn't see the danger growing all around them. And also in Europe. Stark stirs. Wake, Apocalypse says as Tony pulls himself from the ground. Apocalypse wastes no time. Your mind is beyond what any normal human could do. I thought only mutants were worth of saving. But I now see I was too narrow-minded. That's great, Tony says. It's wonderful to see genocidal maniacs being able to grow as a person. This phases Apocalypse none. You will work for me, he says. Well, not so fast. You see, Stark has this rule where he doesn't work for anybody that has slaves build statues of themselves. Again, Apocalypse carries on, but in a way, responds to Tony. Was not your suits a tribute to yourself? Were the metals you used to create them themselves mined by slaves in other lands? You see, Stark, you see things and understand them as I do. Evolution uses and discards those that are inferior and not deserving of its rewards. Our world cannot move on if it stays stagnant. The time has come, once again, for evolution. Tony sees people he thought long since dead. Reed, what are you doing? We thought you were dead. So, Reed almost gives a programmed response here. I do all I can to help end Saba Nur. Reed, are you being threatened? No, he simply says. We've been given a chance. How are you doing this? How are you running all this power? Stark asks. Apocalypse turns that around. How would you do it, Tony Stark? Stark goes on to explain what is above them, all around them. It's a Faraday cage, though in theory it's strong enough to withstand the EMP currently encompassing the globe. Everyone he's built, though, has failed. He's used vibranium, adamantium. None of them have worked. You'd need something so strong with magnetism, it would have to be able to repel it. Something, Apocalypse says, or someone. Magneto. My word, you're using Magneto! Well done, Mr. Stark, Apocalypse smiles. Kilgrave? Kilgrave? They all knew Apocalypse was dangerous. He had taken control of what was left of a continent. The Purple Man, Tony says. Take his mind. Sure. None of them had any idea as to the extent of the threat Apocalypse really was. They had no idea he was ready to sacrifice the world. I have touched the mind of a creature more powerful than a god, but then that god was put to sleep. The earth stopped. I want that power, Tony Stark, and you are going to help me get it. You are going to help me wake the Unmaker. Flame on! Peter Parker is our narrator, once again continuing his story. There was a time before all of this burned away, when everything felt, well, right. When everything we had worked so hard for had come together. Johnny Storm is going Nova on a tea kettle at a rather distinguished tea party. Peter Parker and Luke Cage carry on a conversation as the children play. Wow, Danny says. Oh yes, I have boiled this tea kettle in an instant. You know, I once burned so hot I melted through Galactus. Who's Galactus? You don't know Galactus? Johnny, Peter says, a finger to his lips. This is a tea party, strictly for the young ladies and their toys. No interstellar threats allowed. May turns to her Uncle Johnny as Luke pours some tea. I think it's awesome you can boil a tea kettle, she says. Thank you. Tea, Luke says, offering to Johnny. Oh, yes. Stuffed animal, Peter says. Sure. Luke notices Jessica Jones approaching. Jess, glad you're here. Hey, Danny, go get a cup of tea for your ma, would you? The look on her face says she does not come with good news. What's wrong? Over in the Alchemist Cave, Pepper Potts is relaying the events of the night before. Steve showed up. He and Tony went out for a bit, and I haven't seen them since. Tony didn't come back last night, Blade. Blade, Wolverine, and Honey Badger investigate, trying to find any sort of clue to start with. Captain America wasn't here last night. What do you mean? Pepper asks. Cap's sentence is different. It was somebody else. Wolverine sniffs. Her eyes narrow. I know that scent, she says. Mystique. Grabbing Pepper, Blade, Honey Badger, and Wolverine run out. Let's go! Things they dealt with the night before are also starting to make sense. We engaged in an attack last night on the other side of the city. It could have been a diversion. They stop, Wolverine surveying the spot where Tony last was. He was here, fell, or got knocked down. There's some blood, but not a lot. Mystique wasn't alone either. Tony put up a good fight too, Blade says. What's left of plenty of vampires are all around us. A look of concern comes over Wolverine's face. She knows. I'm so sorry, Pepper. I know who else was here with Tony last night. The news has been given. Heroes and a former villain gather to discuss. If Apocalypse has Tony Stark, then we must get him back right away. I didn't think you cared so much, Johnny Storm says. They are in the throne room of T'Challa, the Black Panther. His sister, Shuri, stands beside him as Dr. Doom, Lunella, Pepper, Johnny, and Peter Parker discuss their options. Oh, he doesn't care, Lunella says. He sees the bigger picture. Tony Stark is the greatest weapons maker this world has ever seen. He's much more than that, Pepper says to Lunella. Doom is more straightforward. Don't be delusional. Tony Stark was made for destruction. T'Challa, Doom says, turning to the Wakandan leader. Mark my words, this paradise will go up in flames. We must have Tony Stark back. If he stays with Apocalypse, he's a ticking bomb. I'll go, Pepper says. Tick-tock, Doom replies. Time is wasting. I'll go too, says Peter. Johnny also joins the cause. Tick-tock. Sue brings some rationality to all of this. Pepper, we don't even know if Tony is still alive. And even if he is, we have no idea where to even start looking. Jean Grey is right, but so is Doom. Tick-tock, he says once more. Would you stop? Johnny shouts. I know what you're trying to do here, but things are dramatic enough already. We've spent years trying to avoid this. We can't just go headlong into it. No, T'Challa says, but we do have someone who can. So, Black Panther sends someone out. The plan was Quicksilver would be in and out before anybody could have hope of detecting him, even Apocalypse, and he could have done exactly that. Wait, if he hadn't seen this. My God. Father. Magneto is strapped in the makeshift conduit, his body fueling it with his mutant power of magnetism. Son, he says, unable to move. Quicksilver, however, goes at lightning speed, evading anything Mr. Fantastic could hope to do to stop him. No, Magneto shouts. Pietro reaches. Immediately, he is electrocuted. Dr. Octopus and Apocalypse watching with very little emotion as Quicksilver falls to the ground. The defenses you set up worked very well, Otto. Thank you, Lord Apocalypse. Shall we put him with the rest? No, he says. I have a better idea. Let him go back. We had no clue what was about to happen next. No clue as to what we were dealing with. T'Challa, Quicksilver says, sliding to kneel. Quicksilver, what have you discovered? But things are different. Johnny calls Pietro's name. It all happens in an instant. Quicksilver's eyes glow purple. The Wakandan Royal Guard knows something's wrong. Jean Grey can sense it too. Something's not right with his mind. Peter's spider sense goes off, but it's all too late. Quicksilver launches like a bullet. Okoye is dispatched quickly. Her neck snapped. Quicksilver grabs her spear. He was just too fast, Peter says, continuing to tell this story. There was no way any of us could have stopped him. Webs shoot from Peter's wrists as Quicksilver effortlessly dodges each one. Johnny is about to go into action. Flame up! Everything happened so fast. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, cannot get the last letter out of his mouth before the spear is violently shoved through his chest. "Johnny!" Sue screams. "Sue!" It only took a moment for Jean Grey to reach Quicksilver's mind, and even then, it was a major struggle for her. "Sleep!" she shouts, sweat pouring down her face. It happens a second later. Quicksilver slumps to the ground, hitting it hard, his body sliding, finishing off his momentum. Sue screams her brother's name again, rushing toward him, but it was too late. The damage had already been done, much more than any of them could hope to fix. Johnny's power starts to erupt from his body. "Sue," he says, looking at his hands. "I can't stop it. I can't control it. You have to get away from here." "No," she says, staying with her brother. "I'm not leaving you." And there, in that moment, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, his fire goes dim. Forever. Sue, she saved so many of us over the years. But even with all of her power, she could not save her brother. Later, in a recovery room, Quicksilver, his legs burned near to oblivion, lays in a hospital bed. It's hard for him to talk, but he does. I knew the whole time what I was doing. I could see everything. But the Purple Man, he trails off. He turns to Sue Storm. "I'm so very sorry. Pietro, it's not your fault. Jessica Jones says this, stepping forward. I know better than anybody what the Purple Man can do to someone when he's inside your mind. It's not your fault." "What did you see there?" T'Challa asks. "They have a pyramid. Electricity." "That's impossible," Sue says. "They have my father right in the middle of it." "Magneto," T'Challa says. "If I was trying to build something like that, and I had no remorse for any life, that's exactly what I would do too." Shuri replies this. "Did you see Tony?" "Yes," Pietro says. "They were working on something huge. Not just Tony either. Hank McCoy, Dr. Octopus, Riri, even Reed." "What?" Sue says. She can't believe what she's hearing. That information laid the foundation for what happened next. Reed Richards and Franklin had been missing or thought dead for the past 7 years. Reed is working with Apocalypse. Sue was in grief. She had just watched her brother die. Then, all of a sudden, she's given hope that her husband and son may yet still be alive. She rushes, knocking the chair she was sitting in over. "Sue, wait!" Jessica shouts, but it's for nothing. Our team would be ready to invade the next day. Not all of us would come back home. Apocalypse stands outside. "They'll be on their way. They'll try to stop everything here. Are the 3 of you ready?" This monstrosity of a symbiote answers him, bloodthirsty. "Yes, we are ready. We are ready to hunt." Jamie! The Nightcrawler bamfs from spot to spot, moving quickly. Peter Parker continues to tell us the tale. Our journey was not easy. No, far from it. "Captain Wagner," Jamie Madrox replies. "Let down the sails." "Aye." The space on board one of our largest ships was precious, and with so many refugees trying to escape Europe, Moon Girl came up with a very clever idea for a crew, which is exactly how the Multiple Man became multiple semen. Moon Girl had other ideas too, like how to deal with the weight of all this. Colossus, drop the anchor. Because the sheer size of the ship was, well, colossal. This used to be one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarriers, but with the power gone, it was a heli no more. This is how we were able to move people, hundreds of thousands of them, at once. Aurora Monroe, Storm, X-Man, goddess of the elements, floats down gently amongst the passengers. My friend, she says warmly, you're all safe now. Europe is but a memory and is long behind you. Welcome to Africa. Lush green forests, mighty mountains, and rolling hills lay before them. The port is teeming with life, new experiences. New memories are being formed, but one thing here is constant. T'Challa, my king, Storm says. Aurora, my queen, T'Challa replies. Their embrace is welcoming to each other. They've been apart so long. How many were you able to save? 112,000. And how many still remain? Too many, Aurora responds. We will find a home for them. T'Challa. It almost seems as if Aurora is about to protest, but T'Challa responds quickly. So long as Apocalypse rules, we will turn no person away. They have a home here in Wakanda. Mommy! Daughter and mother are reunited once more. In Kosasana, it's much too early for you to be moving around. I've been up for ages. Papa, too. Oh, I'm very sure your father is grateful for that. If there's one thing a king gets entirely too much of, it's sleep. When you're woken up at the crack of dawn, the head that wears the crown is just a little bit heavier. That sounds tiring. You do know I just pushed a helicarrier across the sea, right? Others begin to arrive. T'Challa. Pepper Potts and Sue Storm, the invisible woman, approach. It looks like business. Yes, Pepper, of course. We must speak to the Admiral. Ayo, take in Kosasana. Aurora notices. Ayo, where is Okoye? It's her daughter who answers. Papa says we won't see her again for a long time. T'Challa takes his queen's hand. There is much to be told. On board the helicarrier, Nick Fury, the Admiral, is filled in. His response is less than enthusiastic. You want us to turn this thing around and head back? My people are tired, Kurt adds. Sue lays it out simply. Nick, I'm going after Tony with or without your help, or this ship. Just give me a small vessel then, we'll manage. Sue, Nick says, interrupting her. You will be absolutely defenseless if any of the major players on that ocean show up. Namor, the Raiders, any of the creatures or beasts floating around out there. It's not any sort of rescue mission if you get captured or drown. Fury turns to Storm. Aurora, are you up for this? There is a steam engine on board. Aurora doesn't need... It would take weeks if they used that engine alone. Without knowing exactly what Apocalypse has planned, I think speed is of the essence. We should hurry. Also, I am queen, and our kingdom is in jeopardy. We leave within the hour. The command has been given. Even T'Challa does not protest. We all say our goodbyes. Val and Moon Girl. Mom says I have to stay, but you and Devil bring me something back, okay? We sure will, Val. Blade, Wolverine, Honey Badger, and Elsa Bloodstone. Killing monsters is going to be far less fun without you, Elsa, Honey Badger says. That's awful kind of you, Elsa replies, but someone has to stay here and hunt as well. She turns to Blade. If you see Dracula, drive a stake through his heart for me, would you? You bet. Well, most of us said our goodbyes. May didn't want to come say goodbye? She's scared, Peter. Her and Danny are back at the house together. She doesn't want to lose you. The two look at each other for a long moment. Come back to us, Tiger. Storm fills our sails, and we're off. Nick Fury and Peter Parker stand on the ship, looking outward. You know it's not too late to go back, right? Fury says. If we let Apocalypse do whatever it is he has planned, nowhere on Earth will be safe. Very true. I like this world we've built, Peter. I like it a lot. I'm glad I got to see this. It's worth the fight. The carrier moves on, the open sea now before them. Storm pushed us hard. That night, we stopped a few miles off the coast of Portugal. Things were calm, peaceful even. She was tired, beyond exhausted. Pietro catches her as she comes down from the sky. I've got you. Rest. Only a few miles from land, yet so very far away. Inside the ship, another conversation starts. This should not simply be seen as a rescue mission. Doom has spoken. We strike quickly, kill Apocalypse and any who stand with him. We take Europe. Who do you think should rule Europe after Apocalypse fails? You, Doom? Wolverine, Doom replies. He's heard this before. If I wanted to rule a kingdom, I would have taken Wakanda by now. When will you trust me? Honey Badger lays out the facts. You were literally a dictator a few years ago. People don't tend to forget that. Jessica chimes in as well. This isn't really the place to pitch ideas on who to kill. Suddenly, a scream can be heard. That scream made no sense at all. But it came from a voice that Peter knew all too well. May and Danny run as May screams for her father. May? Peter shouts. Jessica and Luke are just as surprised. Danny? What on earth are you two doing here? The kids know they're in trouble, but they try to explain. We knew you wouldn't let us come. We hid, Danny says. I didn't say woo either, Dad, so I know you wouldn't find us. And then, May and Peter stop. My head, she says. It hurts. Mine too, Peter replies. The still of the water has now become very eerie. Nick Fury comes over. What is it, he asks. Peter stares off into the distance, focusing on his spider sense. Something's out there, he says, still entranced. Suddenly, he shouts, grabbing May. Move! The business end of a harpoon erupts from Nick Fury's chest. He's stunned for a moment. Peter? He's confused. They all are. As they watch the hellfire burn from the harpoon, Nick Fury is yanked off the deck of the ship. Peter screams his name. Ghost Raiders. When it all went dark, when the power to run the world was no more, pirates on the open sea made a deal with the devil to continue to burn. Their wish was granted. They've dragged thousands to their deaths, drowning and burning at the same time. Storm, Kurt shouts. We need to move now. If they get a hold of us, they will burn this ship to nothing. 3 X-Men are already moving. We'll keep them busy. Colossus. 2 fastball specials. The adrenaline is pumping. With all of his strength, he launches the Wolverine and the Honey Badger into the air, their destination the deck of the Raiders' ship. They come in like the animals they're named after and begin to kill. We have to get to the Guardians of the Port, Kurt shouts. Storm is already doing what she does best. 10 miles. It felt like it took forever. The Raiders' attack was brutal. Bullets, fueled by hellfire, race toward their targets. Sue Storm has other ideas. The bullets miss their victims this day. Nightcrawler is on the move. Jamie, you're in command. I'm leaving. What? Where are you going? To save Fury. The Raiders were right on top of us. We were all about to have our own personal experiences with Hellfire. But then, a roar, loud and deep enough to shatter steel, rattles both ships. A creature from the depths of the ocean breaches as May screams. "A monster!" she shouts. Peter smiles. "It's okay," he says. Fin Fang Foom was our monster. Along with Scott Lang, they were the guardians of the port. Scott gives the command, and Fin Fang Foom unleashes his own brand of fire upon the Raiders. His giant hand comes crashing down on what's left of the ship, destroying it to splinters in seconds. We made it. "How was the trip?" Scott asks. Nightcrawler returns, Wolverine and Honey Badger in tow. "Yes, we made it. But the cost was so very high. One more friend to fight for. To avenge." Nick Fury, our friend. When we made it to the shores of Portugal, we buried him. He had fought for so long, but his last years were spent working on something better, building a future for people who couldn't for themselves, getting people out of harm's way. And then, from nowhere, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to Europe. Before I bust out the silly accents and top hats, anyone got a problem with cultural stereotypes?" "Wade," Honey Badger says. "Gabby, fancy seeing you here. Why is everybody acting all serious? Somebody die or something?" Her voice softens. "Yeah, Nick Fury." In one of those rare moments, Wade Wilson gets serious himself, his demeanor changing. "Oh, man, I'm sorry. He was one of the good ones." They all stand in silence. Paris, France. "Is it possible?" Apocalypse stands before Tony Stark, not asking the question, but demanding. Tony answers, "I get what you're wanting, but I really need to see the size of this problem." "Very well," Apocalypse says. "I will show you. I will teleport us down there and protect you, so you can see." Kilgrave. He, however, is hesitant. "I don't really like going down there." A side glance from Apocalypse is more than enough. But I surely will." As the team prepared to head for France, Apocalypse took those enslaved to him to the center of the earth, where the Unmaker rests, to where our friends fell. And though Doctor Strange lay dead and decayed, his magic still made itself very known. Don't touch him. Even though he's bones, his magical wards are still very much there. Powerful minds begin to have a conversation. Riri is the first to start. All of that power, enough to shut down a planet coming from such a small portal. Reed adds his thoughts. "The hypothesis I've gathered leads me to believe a neutron star is in there, giving off a constant electromagnetic pulse." That's a good theory, Reed. We can definitely check if we want our heads torn to atoms by a gravitational pull close to a black hole." Apocalypse. "How much time did you say you needed?" As he floats high above his subjects, staring at the Unmaker once more, he explains, "I have studied the Unmaker for years. I have touched every part of its dormant mind. To take control of a power such as this, more than a celestial or a god. Minutes, perhaps an hour at most. Beast's fascination is evident. Contain the power of a neutron star for an hour." I ask again, "Is it possible?" "This? No, it's not. But I'm always up for a challenge." Tony's mind had begun working, planning, calculating. We didn't have much time. The clock was ticking. We had one problem. Well, Two, actually. They're not coming with us. Luke, Jessica, and Peter stand over their children. It seems final, definitely, but Deadpool has his own thoughts. Great responsibility there, Parker. Isn't that like your whole thing? It'd be pretty darn irresponsible for you to leave your kids in a refugee camp, am I right? Luke turns to Storm. How long before you think you're ready to sail again? Jessica, however, disagrees. She's not sailing. Storm, however, lays it all out. You're going to need all the help you can get against Apocalypse. If we defeat him, end the tyranny, the refugee crisis is also over. The greatest threat to Wakanda and the world will finally be finished. I'm coming. And so are we, Nightcrawler adds. Pietro finishes. Madrox can man the ship, easily. The father in Peter is frustrated. May, I am so disappointed in you right now. I'm sorry, Dad. Doom adds his own wisdom. If May had not sounded the alarm against the Ghost Raiders, none of us would be here right now. I am not used to being disobeyed, and it is very clear she needs a much firmer hand than you can provide. But the reality is, if not for her, we would be at the bottom of the ocean. I am not disappointed in her saving us. You know what? I'm not about to take parenting advice from the likes of Dr. Doom. Jessica puts a hand on Peter's shoulder. As insane as it sounds, Pete, the kids really are better off with us. It's settled. Deadpool leads the way. Family road trip into the heart of darkness. To the Deadmobile. What sits before the team is something only Deadpool could love. Pepper has some thoughts, however. Why are you our guide through Europe, she asks. Well, I've been beaten, stabbed, shot at, and drawn and quartered in every part of this continent. I know all the places to avoid. All aboard! We set out to save a world. Our world. We were heroes and a villain. Avengers and mutants. Children and a dinosaur. With Deadpool as our guide. On your left, you'll see what's left of something people thought were super important until they realized you couldn't feed a family with buildings and structures from the past. When night began to fall, we stopped. Well, folks, not much post-apocalyptic hellscape you can go through without headlights. Looks like we camp here for the night. Off the beaten path, we settled in well away from any of the major roads. Honey Badger's senses are working, and she knows they're not alone. What is it? Blade asks. Not sure. A lot of mixed senses. Bitter. Rotted. They're faint, though, and I think it's on purpose. Yes, Wolverine adds. We're being hunted. Blade gives the order. Well then, let's go hunt the hunter. The three move out, the best there is at what they do. Wolverine senses it first. Up above, in the trees. Get ready to... Two somethings come down, impaling her, without remorse, without question. The impact on her body is violent. Laura! Gabby shouts. Sweat pours down her face. The pain has to be unbearable. Blade immediately springs into action, slicing the massive tentacle holding Laura hostage. What's left of it focuses on Blade, slamming into him and sending him away. Before power left the world, Gabby Kinney, the honey badger, had a quite unique power set. Nanites in her body prevented her from feeling any sort of pain. But when the power left the world, the nanites stopped working. Now she feels everything. A blood-curdling scream emanates from the depths of the forest. Doom is ready. Stay with the fire. Stay together. May tries to calm Danny down. There's nothing to worry about. I don't sense anything. We all knew there was a lot of danger we were about to face. A lot of it was coming our way, but I also knew what kind of danger could evade our spider sense. May was right. We couldn't feel it, But Moon Girl's light was about to reveal what I had already feared. I had feared wrong. It was worse than anything I could have possibly imagined. Venom and Carnage, two very dangerous, murderous symbiotes formed around one host. Devil Dinosaur threw himself in front of Moon Girl. He took the attack head on, saving her life. The deep, guttural roar from the Tyrannosaurus was earth-shaking and deadly. Devil's mouth chomped around this monstrosity. He tossed it aside violently. Deadpool runs to Gabby as Moon Girl tosses what's left of the symbiote's appendage aside. "Hey, you okay? Most of your internal organs are not external." Gabby struggles, but stands. "At least the important things are still on the inside." "Atta girl, seeing the silver lining in the stomach lining." "What can I say? I'm a half-full kind of gal." Peter goes to work, his web shooter sending strings of the created fluid toward the monster. "Wait, what was that?" Deadpool says. "Can you just not be you right now?" Your web shooters went thwap. They don't thwap. Wade!" Serious and funny in the blink of an eye, Deadpool grabs his guns and begins firing. He chuckles at the thought. Thwap. We were caught off guard by this hybrid nightmare sent to kill us by Apocalypse. Once we figured out exactly what we were fighting, though, the nightmare didn't even stand a chance. We had two symbiotes deathly afraid of fire. Pepper steps forward. "Move." It was against an iron woman powered by a furnace. Jets of flame erupt from her repulsors, hitting both symbiotes. They let out a combined scream of agony and pain. We get our first glimpse of who's underneath. A young man cowers, his body smoking as the Venom and Carnage symbiotes try to get away. Storm rises into the air, lightning at her command. "Sue, shield everyone." A shield forms as Susan calls to everyone to stay close. Two burning, frightened symbiotes who have lost their host and hate loud noises up against the woman at one time known as the Goddess of Thunder. The energy surges, her body in full command of the electricity in the air. The symbiotes stood no real chance. The night could have gone so much worse, but we didn't lose anyone. "Pete?" the young man says. "Tonight, we gained back a friend." "Miles?" Peter rushes in. "Hey, it's okay. We've got you. It's going to be okay." "No," Miles says. "Nothing will be okay. I heard it. I heard everything. I know how Apocalypse is going to end the world." Miles sits by the fire, recounting how he and the symbiote survived. When the light left the world, it was Venom and I that found each other. In the early days, we kept each other alive. It worked well for a while, until Carnage found us. With both of them whispering, "My mind, Pete," I lost myself. Doom has been listening. Now he has a question. Why would symbiotes work for Apocalypse, he asks. He told them what nobody else knows. He told them what he plans to do. He's going to stop the EMP. He promised the symbiotes a ship to escape. Pete, when the power comes back on, he's going to destroy the world. Otto Octavius has questions of his own. "How did you come up with this, Stark?" "It's all I've been thinking about since the EMP. Years of alchemy study. Every metal I could get my hands on to try and block out the pulse. Nothing. I didn't have access to the best." The others are engaging as well. "Reed, have you run your tests?" Beast asks. "Of course. The sphere Tony has come up with could work and would crack under the stress of the portal. Magneto wouldn't survive, of course, but I believe it will hold long enough." We surround the portal with a lot of different metals to shield and absorb the electromagnetism with the strength to keep it all from falling apart. Therein lies the problem, Riri says. Tony also agrees. I need pure adamantium, and unless you just happen to have some lying around. As a matter of fact, I do. Apocalypse. His grin should tell us all we need to know. In the caverns below Apocalypse's domain, a man who once was the best there is at what he does is alone. Claw marks riddle the sides of this chamber, attempts at escape, fits of rage, all fruitless. His hypersenses go to work as he sniffs the air. I know that smell. He says this as he turns. A portal opens. The Purple Man, Apocalypse, and Scott Summers stand before him. What are you doing here? He asks. Purple Man removes the visor. You won't be needing this anymore, he says, tossing it aside. Logan? Logan! You can't let them do this! The sadness, the terror in Scott's voice is apparent. You have to stop me! Apocalypse holds him fast as the Purple Man tells him to open his eyes. Logan, the Wolverine, unleashes fury as he charges, claws coming out, a berserker's rage filling him as he runs. Let it go, the Purple Man says as Cyclops opens his eyes. We all know that Wolverine's bones were coated in that precious metal they needed so much. Adamantium. The rest of him, skin, muscle, cells, everything that held him together, not so much. The skull of Weapon X hits the vibranium shield. You have your adamantium, Apocalypse says. The rest of Wolverine floats above him, ready to be used. How long will it take, he asks. Reed can get a molecular deconstructor going fairly quickly, and once I have the metal in a state I can work with, not long at all. Begin now, Apocalypse commands. Otto, however, has concerns. Apocalypse, perhaps a word in private? Outside, Dr. Octopus and Apocalypse walk. What is it, Otto? He says. Everything Stark has come up with should work, but, Apocalypse, there is a major hole in your plan. If you move your mind into the Unmaker, there is a very real possibility that your powers won't work. You'll be stuck in that shell. The only way out would be to destroy the planet. And there's a problem with this? Well, yes, Otto says, quite shocked. It's the planet we're all standing on. It looks like plans are finally starting to come to the forefront, at least for Otto Octavius. Well, you're clever, Otto. Perhaps a bit too clever for your own good. I can't have someone trying to think their way out of things. Energy surges from Apocalypse, gripping Otto Octavius in a tight grip. With but a thought, Octavius is no more, his body ripped in half. The heroes were almost out of time. As we made our way into Paris, we had no idea that we had 1 hour left before Apocalypse literally lived up to his name. Just 1 hour until paradise in this new world we had made for ourselves would be gone forever. Fortunately, we had a very unlikely pair of bus riders that were having a very interesting conversation. We would have to be precise, clinical. It would require perfect timing in the midst of what surely will be utter chaos. It's a brutally effective idea you have there, Lunella. Yeah, well, maybe Apocalypse shouldn't have sent someone out to kill my dinosaur. We had the most innovative mind with us coordinating with the world's most ruthless. This could definitely work, Doom says. Miles and Devil were not in any condition to go with us. They stayed behind to look after the children. Lunella was giving instructions to Devil as Peter was giving instructions to May. Protect the children, Devil. Protect the dinosaur, May. Hugs are given from parents to the children. We'll be back, Peter says. The rest see before them. 3, 2, 1. The rest see before them what's left of Dr. Octopus. What is that? Wolverine asks. What's left of Octavius, Doom replies. He's been torn in half. So more like 2 Quartaviuses then, right? Honey Badger says. I missed you so much, Gabby. Storm is above, surveying. Everyone, be ready. We all knew our places, what we had to do. It all began with a storm. With her mastery over the weather, a hurricane hits the Louvre. Glass shatters down upon Apocalypse and those inside. Reed Richards is already working to shield their progress. Get Magneto prepared. Do not stop building, Apocalypse shouts. Stark's invention was almost ready. Apocalypse was minutes away from destroying the world. He turns to the Purple Man. Kilgrave, open the cells. Let them all out. We all knew our plan very well. We thought we knew what we would be up against. We were very, very wrong. Captain Marvel, Beast, She-Hulk, Captain America, Dracula, Lady Deathstrike, Cyclops, and Psylocke. We had no idea he would use our friends against us. What do we do? Sue asks. She does not want to hurt our friends. A clearer mind speaks. It changes nothing. You know your position, Susan. Follow the plan. Our friends, teammates, family stood between us and saving the planet. We had no choice but to go through them. Chaos ensues. Hero against hero. Lives on the line. Friendships. Blood. Dracula launches for Doom, but Doom holds fast. Stop trying to eat me, you idiot! We need to talk! Kilgrave is having the time of his life. Yes! Kill them all! Kill them all! A gunshot rings out and Kilgrave's powers explode out the side of his skull. He is no more. Wade! Jessica Jones screams. What? He says, genuinely surprised. Luke and Jess were going to knock him out. That was the plan. I didn't hear no plan. I was driving. Jessica is not happy. Oh, man. I feel like I took away a major story arc for you. Want to kick his dead body for a minute? Huh? The Purple Man's effects are now wearing off of those that were affected by him. Peter looks to Steve Rogers. Peter? Hey, Cap. With Deadpool being Deadpool and the Purple Man gone, we now had allies, both outside and in. The greatest minds in the world turn on he who was formerly in control. Apocalypse, Reed Richards says. Apocalypse now stands alone. Kilgrave is down? It matters not. I can finish the rest on my own. Thank you for your parts in my evolution. Apocalypse was on the verge of ending our friends' lives, on the verge of going to the center of the earth in the sphere Tony had created. Once he was gone, there was no chance for us to follow, to stop him. He would be inside the Unmaker and then destroy the planet. That was when Dr. Doom and Moon Girl's plan came into full effect. What? Apocalypse says. The heroes make their way inside, Sue Storm leading them. You, she says, pointing. You kidnapped my husband. You took my child. You took Johnny from me. My powers. I can't. That would be the small force field that I have put in your frontal lobe. Victor had come up with a way to end Apocalypse. Dracula attacks quickly, his teeth sinking into the first mutant. Doom told me what you had planned, he hisses, drinking the blood of Apocalypse. You betrayed me. Now you will be mine forever. How do you destroy the Indestructible Man? By manipulating a monster to make him, well, destructible. You turn him into a vampire. And at that exact moment, a Daywalker moves in for the kill. Two hearts are pierced, and with just as swift a motion, their bodies are removed from their heads. Forever is a long time, Blade says. The bodies of Dracula and Apocalypse begin their final deaths, withering away into dust. Peter is sure glad he left the kids with the dinosaur. Husband and wife reconnect. Sue! Reed? Franklin! He's safe. He's in a cell underneath us. The Iron Woman and the Iron Man reconnect as well. Pepper, it's good to see you. My sternum doesn't quite bend like that. Beast turns to Nightcrawler. Get Magneto. Take him out of here. From one quick teleport to another, Magneto and Scott are reunited. It's over, Eric. He's gone. Who said a post-apocalyptic world had to be a bad thing? Put aside the barren wastelands. The world dominated by leather and skulls and definitely roaming bands of cannibals. After the fall of our civilization came something much better. Wow, what a ride. A very short ride, though. Guys, this whole series could have gone another 2 or 3 issues. At least. There was so much more that could have been done. And I feel like this last issue was rushed because of Taylor's exclusivity with DC Comics now. That's just speculation on my part. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident that that's the reason. It seems like all was building up really good for them first 5 issues, and then that last issue, this one here, they just kind of short everything up real quick. I love the happy ending. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy that, but it's just I wanted more. Overall, I think I would give this whole series a very solid 8 out of 10. It's a well-deserved 8. And it just could have gone longer. If it would have went longer, dude, 10 out of 10 all the way. All right, guys, if you liked what you saw and heard here today, be sure to hit the subscribe button, light up that notification bell, and like this video so that way you'll know when new episodes from the Codex Station come out. As always, my name is Tim, this is Decoding Panels, and I will see you next time.